Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, coming to you live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. Coming up this evening, government plans massive expansion of Category A schools to tackle overcrowding and ease senior high school admission pressure. Tonight, we engage stakeholders on whether this is the way to go. Later, the Madina Court has discharged the lead suspect in the Ahmed Suale Murder Case. Why? We'll be finding out. And later, civil society group Democracy Hub drags government to the Supreme Court over alleged secret memorandum of understanding on the U.S. deportees that were accepted into the country. We'll give you details of that as well. I am Asiedu-Dartey. We are live around the world on 3news.com, streaming on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Just look for 3FM 92.7. Time now, though, for the news summaries.
Thank you very much, Martin. In a summary tonight, the Madina District Court has charged the lead suspect in the murder of investigative journalist Ahmed Suale. Daniel Osu-Kranting, an investigative journalist, had been charged with abetment of crime and murder in connection with the death of Ahmed Suale. Prosecution alleged that he led two other alleged culprits, currently at large, to the home of Ahmed Suale, where he was eventually shot and killed by unknown assailants. He has, however, pleaded not guilty and is on a 50,000 Ghana cedis bail. In court today, prosecution led by Nanefua Bamfo informed the court that they had been directed by the Attorney General to discontinue the case. Democracy Hub has filed a writ at the Supreme Court of Ghana challenging the legality of a secret memorandum of understanding between the government of Ghana and the United States for the reception and detention of involuntary repatriated West African nationals. The group argues that the MOU, which allows deportees from the U.S. to be temporarily detained in Ghana, is unconstitutional and violates international human rights obligation. The Supreme Court has set Wednesday, October 22, 2025 for the hearing of an interlocutory injunction to suspend the implementation of the agreement. Residents of the Yulo and Lower Manya Krobo municipalities in the eastern region have staged a demonstration to protest the deplorable states of the Somanya Odomansipong road in the region. They are therefore calling on President Mahama to intervene urgently. Finally, more than 3 people have been arrested for allegedly spreading false claims of bribery and manipulation in the ongoing computerized school selection and placement system, CSSPS. Addressing journalists at a press briefing in Accra, the Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, said the suspects were apprehended by national security operatives after alleging that officials were taking bribes to secure school placements for students. According to the minister, preliminary investigations revealed that the individuals had no links to the placement process and could not provide any evidence to support their claims. We have this on our website, 3news.com. Marching up to you.
Thank you very much for the latest in terms of news summaries. Let's delve into the details of the stories we have for you this evening. We're starting from the education front because the Minister in charge of education, Haruna Idrisu, has announced plans to review and restructure the classification system of senior high schools nationwide in a bid to tackle the recurring challenges with the computerized school placement system. Under the proposed arrangement, 10 Category A schools will be reclassified as Category B, while another 10 Category B schools will be upgraded to Category A status. The Minister of Education says the realignment will be accompanied by major infrastructure and expansion to promote equality, equity, and fairness in student placements. This latest move comes amid mounting frustration among parents and students, many of whom have been visiting the School Placement Solution Center to rectify placement issues. It has been almost 2 months since the West Africa Examination Council, WAEC, released the results of the 2025 Basic Education Certificate Examination, followed by school placement by the Placement Secretariat. Yet, With only 3 days remaining before first-year students are expected to reopen or report to school, thousands of candidates are still struggling to secure final placement. Let's listen to the Minister Haruna Iddrisu, who addressed a news conference earlier today in Accra.
The Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service is working diligently in a manner which is open, transparent and accountable. But we do accept that there is a challenge. When you have vacancies of 76,000 and you have applicants desiring to fill 76,000 with 393,000, you definitely will have a difficulty and struggle as I'm struggling. It could be any of you sitting here as Minister for Education. How can you fill 76,000 vacancies with 393 qualified applicants? That's a near impossibility. So we are doing our best. Category A, Category B, Category C, justifiably, every parent wants a child to be in a Category A school, but we haven't. In the last month, we haven't expanded infrastructure at any Category A school to have done the magic for us. My thinking, in order that we respect equity, will be that into 2026, and I've had consultations and discussions with the President, I have his support and blessing, is to convert at least 10 category schools to Category B schools, then convert 10 Category B schools to Category A schools, and that will be backing it with infrastructure, with available classroom blocks, dormitories for students, and quality improvement by way of improved teaching, and then learning materials and learning aids.
So that's the voice of Haruna Iddrisu, the Minister in charge of Education in Ghana. For further insights, let's engage Dr. Peter Pateyanti, Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies, IFEST. Dr. Peter Pateyanti, good evening and thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening. This is Martin, right?
Yes, this is Martin.
Yeah, bro.
How do you react to the minister's proposal that they are going to reclassify a number of second cycle institutions where up to about 10 of the Category A schools are going to be more or less stepped down or downgraded, and then those in Category B, about 10 of them upgraded? How do we understand all of this?
Well, perfect proposition from the Minister of Education. If you listen to what he was saying, he didn't say they were going to downgrade A to B. He said they were going to upgrade 10 Category C to B and then 10 Category B to A. And then they would now improve on some of the Category A schools. I think that there's been some misrepresentation in terms of the communication that was taken out. I've taken my time to listen to the audio.
Is that so?
So he was saying moving from Category C to B and then 10 from B to A. So there's no downgrading here because that would have been you cannot move a school from a higher category to a lower category. It means that you are failed as a policy person within the education system. So he was saying that they are going to move 10 Category C's to B and then 10 Category B's to A. And for me, that's a perfect proposition. Over the years, I've been saying several times that one of the measures of a good education minister should be the number of Category A schools that he's able to create. Because we have had the same Category A schools for a long period of time. And that is what everybody also wants to have, get admission into. So if a minister now believes that we can increase the number of Category A schools from the 88 thereabouts to, let's say, 120 or 110 or 100, then it means that that minister is thinking progressively, and we need to give him all the support that he deserves.
It's interesting you bring this clarity to it, and I'm sure that many must have missed what exactly the minister said, because the general perception making round is that he said the opposite of what you are saying, or what we had also put out earlier, that 10 Category A schools will be reclassified as Category B. But you are saying it's the reverse, that from C, 10 Category C schools will be upgraded to Category B, and then 10 from B to A.
From B to A. So if you listen in context, he said that Category A, B, C, that is in the right direction. He said something like that. Then he said Category C, 10 Category C schools 2B, and then 10 Category B schools 2A.
Right.
So that is, I know, but I've spoken with the assistants and other people, and I think that is what he was communicating.
Right. Okay. But let's look at why, or what makes a school a Category A, B, or C, and why, like you indicated, have we had, for instance, a Chimota school, the Prempeh colleges, the Adisadels stay at Category A for over decades, and what exactly has been the challenge of the so-called Category C and B schools from naturally progressing to be Category A, unless, like in this instance, the minister is the one saying that we are going to deliberately reclassify them as Category A?
Yeah, so I don't know if, Martin, you have time. You have to get time and work through this. So there are variables.
Can you sum it up for us?
We have variables such as infrastructure, WASI performance, teaching quality, the discipline, performance in co-curricular activities, and then I think there are about 5 main variables that we look at. And these variables gives us an indication where you classify a school, a secondary school in Ghana, whether they are either Category A, B, or C. So all the Category A schools mean that they are performing well in all these variables. But the most important, interesting thing about this is that the rest of the variables are all input variables. The only output variable is WASI. It means WASI performance. It means that to create a Category A school, it means that there should be a deliberate policy by the policymaker to, one, improve teaching quality, to improve the, infrastructure. And then when you improve teaching quality and improve infrastructure, the 4th variable that comes in is demand, that is student preference when it comes to school placement. So when you are able to touch these two, you are automatically improving demand for that particular school, and you're automatically improving WASI performance, which is the output variable. So anybody within the education system and who wants to really change the various categories of schools, all that you need to do is to improve infrastructure and supply the schools with the needed resources so that the school will have improved teaching quality. When you get these two, your WASI performance would improve, and then the preference or the demand for the school would also improve. And automatically, the school will move from the category it is into a higher category. So that is what we've been thinking, and I think I've been saying this over the years, that any Minister of Education who really wants to transform our educational sector will need to just touch the input variables and make sure that they are performing well. As soon as you do that, the school itself will become attractive and people would want to enroll into that school. What other ministers have been doing over the years is to still go back to the Category A schools and then improve infrastructure. So you go to a school like Infantetim, you see that they are still building classrooms there. You go to Atumata, they are improving, they are building some classrooms. You go to this school. That is what we have been doing. In doing that, what you are doing is that you are still pushing pressure onto the limited Category A schools. But any visionary minister will look at, how do I bring about 10 Category B schools and then improve on their infrastructure, teaching quality, so that their performance will improve and the preference and demand for that school will also improve. And if that happens, those schools will be classified as Category A schools. And if you do this for the next, let's say, 6 years, you have a lot of the schools having a higher performance rate, and parents will have diverse schools to select when it comes to school placement. Doing that, you solve the problem of school placements that always come about every year.
Right. And my last question would be, would this really ease the pressure on the Category A schools, in that improving a Category B school by giving them more infrastructure, increasing the quality of teaching, etc., does not necessarily, equalize years or decades of popularity of the Category A schools, which I mean, I'm sure you and I will agree that it's one of the attracting factors. People just want to say, oh, I also attended this school or that school. So are we sure that this strategy the minister is proposing, where we are looking at increasing infrastructure, getting more quality teachers, improving quality items, research, etc. in those schools, would automatically over time start attracting people to some of these schools?
Yes, I like the word over time. So it's not going to be an immediate, there will not be an immediate result. It's going to be a gradual process, and that is why I said it's progressive. So if you're able to do this within the next 3-4 years, you will have about, let's say if he's able to do 10, you have about almost 100 category A schools. And that means that you have 10 more coming to join the 88 that we already have. And that will ease the pressure, and people will select it. You see, for some time, we didn't even know of Manfi Girls. I know you know that. Now it's a big, it's one of the big schools that people would want to take their awards in. It takes time. So some schools have history, some schools are having the names already.
Prestige.
But with improvements in performance consistently over a period of time, parents will start moving their awards in there. That is what we need, diversity, so that we reduce the pressure on the already existing category A schools that every year people want to enter.
Okay. Dr. Peter Patianti, thank you so much for your time this evening. And certainly in the coming days, we would still keep very close eyes on this development. Dr. Peter Patianti, Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, IFEST. And if you are a parent, a guardian, someone who's interested in Ghana's education space, what do you make of this proposal by the minister? And clearly, it's something that some have commended, and you just had our resource person also commend the fact that it is long overdue for us to try and reclassify some of these schools. But let's find out from Daniel Fenyi, who is the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Education. He's joined us for a quick chat. Mr. Fenyi, good evening, and thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Hello, good evening, and thank you for having me.
What went into this proposal by the minister that we need to reclassify some of our already existing Category A schools, the B and C schools as well, and upgrade them? Is it because of the pressure we are currently seeing in terms of people trying to get placement into the schools?
So thank you for the opportunity. Now, this is what happens. The conversation is beyond just reclassifying the various institutions. Once you mention grade A or grade B, it has implications. Implications are that you are improving infrastructure, you are improving quality, you are improving access, you are improving the teaching and learning materials, you are improving everything else. And so the ultimate focus is that we are improving senior high education generally in the country. And by that, it will imply that there are some grade B schools that will automatically move to grade A because you have improved their facilities, improved their infrastructure. There are some grade C schools that will also move to grade B because you are improving. So the classification is a natural consequence of your improvement of the education system. And that is the focus of the Minister for Education's agenda. The ultimate agenda is that we are going to embark on a massive and aggressive improvement of the Ghana education system, right from even the basic level to the senior high school level. And when we are able to do that, because there's the political will, there's the desire, there's the strength, and then the effort and actions are being put in place. Once we do the improvement agenda, naturally some grade B schools will become grade A, and then some grade C schools will also become grade B. So it is not just about classifications. After all, there are some schools of thought that believe that we should even take off the classification because it is making some people long for particular categorizations of particular schools because those schools belong to a particular category. And so some even believe we should take it off. But others believe that no. Why don't we rather improve the education infrastructure that we have in the country? Why don't we improve on the teaching and learning material? Why don't we improve on the quality of education? And once we improve on these, naturally, these classifications will shift or will tweak here and there. And so we don't even want the argument or the focus to be on just classification. I mean, there's no way, right? There's no way that you can just all of a sudden enter a school like this is just an example. A school like Asiedu Senior High School, and just label it as category A, and all of a sudden people will choose it over Lagos.
Absolutely, it's one of the concerns that I was raising, right? That maybe it looks as though, I mean, and maybe we are oversimplifying what the minister said, that because we have reclassified a category C or B school to a higher level, then it means that automatically over time people will start going. But some people want to just be associated with the school that has prestige over time or has a certain level of popularity, so that they can, after school, they can also boast that I attended this school. Are we confident that this proposal by the minister over time, with the right structures put in place, can actually churn out the right people who will be confident to say that I attended this school, irrespective of which category it has been placed in?
Indeed, once we are able to improve, and I continue to mention that because there are practical actions being put in place. And so once we are able to improve upon the quality across the board, over time, people will get to realize that, I can attend any senior high school and still turn out to become my medical doctor, turn out to become my engineer, turn out to become my lawyer, turn out to become my teacher. Or if I'm interested in the STEM schools too, turn out to be an AI expert, a robotics expert, or a Treve school. Then we are looking at plumbing, electrician, and all that. So the focus is that we are improving on the quality of education we have in this country. And once that improvement comes, the classifications will naturally. So let's consider the classifications as a consequence of improvement. Once the improvement comes, the classifications will naturally also tweak or shift here and there. And that is the commitment we assure Ghanaians that under our watch, under our administration and leadership, they should expect a huge improvement in the quality of education, in the quality of access, in the quality of teaching and learning materials, in the quality of even the teachers who deliver the lessons. And once that is done, no one would now crumble for a particular school because they want a particular quality or access or an improved teaching and learning material and all that. But once you get any school at all, you know that any place I get
should be good enough.
The facilities, the teaching and learning materials are all of high standard, and so I can obtain the quality education that the category A or category B schools are offering anyway.
So I'm sure we are looking at regional distribution as well, because again, then it has put extra pressure on even parents whose wards say they want to attend a particular school, most of it in the capital cities or the big cities. So are we looking at ensuring that this reclassification and improvement in the second cycle institutions across the country is actually broad-based, so we don't put pressure in just the big cities?
Let me assure you that the improvement of the quality of education in Ghana is a national agenda. It's a national agenda. When I say national agenda, I mean it covers all the 16 regions of the country. We have already identified some regions that do not have any category A school at all. For example, some parts of the northern regions, northeast regions, savannah regions, there are some parts that do not have any at all. We have identified them, and we are going to intentionally consciously ensure that institutions, senior high schools there have been improved, have been resourced to a level where learners would love to go into such educational institutions. So be assured that the agenda for improvement is a national agenda. Right. It is not only targeting just some elite schools, elite cities and towns and all that. No, we are cutting across the entire country.
Now, talk to us about the current state of the placement process. We know that the minister has been quite concerned about the pressure that has been there in the last few days, parents and wards getting quite frustrated. What, per the information you've gathered, is the latest with just 2 or 3 days for schools to reopen?
All right. So the first is that for all the Category A schools we have in the country, before the placements are even done, we go to the headmasters to declare vacancies based on the spaces they have so that learners are posted there. We had 79,000 vacancies declared across all the Category A schools. Could you believe that about 340,000 learners picked Category A schools? So we are literally contending with 79,000 vacancies against 340,000 people who are desiring to go into those schools. And so naturally, no magic can allow that 340,000 people be squeezed into a 79,000 capacity space. So that's the first one. And that's for those who desire to be in Category A schools at all costs. It was never going to be possible because of the numbers and the figures involved here. So that's one. Number two, the target was to post 590,000 learners. In fact, those are the numbers that qualified for placements. Now, out of this number, we have posted over 580,000. Over 580,000. So far as we are concerned, a significant majority of the learners have been placed. In fact, if you go to the resolution centers where you find a lot of parents complaining bitterly and a lot of parents castigating and sharing frustrations over the placement, you will realize that every single one of them have their ward already placed. So the placement itself is not really the issue. The issue is that most of these parents want to change from one school to the other. And we are saying, and we continue to plead with them, that it is literally not possible that the computer or the Ghana Education Service will place people where they desire. All right. That's the more reason we gave options that a learner would select 7 schools and give the 7 schools to us. So once you give us 7 good schools, the assumption is that these are schools you are okay with and comfortable with. So if we place you in any of those 7 schools, either your first or your 7th choice, or your 5th or your 4th or your 3rd choice, the assumption is that these are schools you yourself selected and gave to us to work with. And that's exactly what we have done. If you are coming back to say that you don't want this school, you want your first choice, you want your grade A, it doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem with the placement. There's not. It is your desire and your taste that is making it look like there's a problem with the placement. And so far as we are concerned, a significant majority of the learners have already been placed. And trust me, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, these are the reporting days. A learner can choose any of these 3 days because we understand that over 590,000 learners traveling across the country, there could be transportation pressures and all that. So if you are not able to report on Saturday, you can go on Sunday. If you are not able to report on Sunday, you can go on Monday. Trust me, about 590,000 learners will be reporting to the various senior high schools over the weekend.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Daniel. Certainly it's a conversation that we'll still be having in the coming days. So thank you for speaking to us on it, and we'll be getting back to you subsequently.
Right. Thank you very much.
Daniel Fenye is the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Education. And as I asked, if you're a parent, a guardian, or a ward, do send us a message and let us know what you make of this proposal and how the school placement exercise has gone so far for you? Have you been able to get the right placement for your ward? What exactly are the challenges you face? And we also heard the last few days that some persons had been arrested in connection with this school placement, where some of the officers were requiring or demanding money from parents before they placed or replaced their wards in schools that they preferred. We are always live on 3FM 92.7. If you go to Facebook, we are there. On YouTube, we are there. So do send your messages in, and we'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. We are shifting our attention to some other stories this evening, and civil society group Democracy Hub has dragged the government of Ghana to the Supreme Court over what it describes as a secret deal with the United States to receive and detain deported West African nationals. The group is challenging the legality of a memorandum of understanding signed between the two countries, which allows deportees from the U.S. to be temporarily held in Ghana before being sent to their home countries. According to Democracy Hub, the agreement is unconstitutional and violates international human rights conventions, including the 1951 Refugee Convention and the Convention Against Torture. The group argues that the MOU was entered into without parliamentary approval, contrary to Article 75(2) of Ghana's Constitution, which requires such agreement to be ratified by Parliament. A statement from the group said no government has the authority to secretly contract Ghana out of its constitutional and human rights obligations. And the Supreme Court, we are told, has fixed the 22nd of October, which is Wednesday, for the hearing of an interlocutory injunction seeking to suspend the implementation of the deal. And we want to get some further clarification on this. And in a bit, we'll speak to a member of the Democracy Hub group. Meanwhile, what we also do know is that the Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has defended the arrangement and has had some interviews regarding that. But let's speak to Ketchuf's Atengle. I hope that's the right pronunciation. If your name, you can correct me if it is not. But thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to your listeners.
Right. To start with, what exactly are you seeking the Supreme Court to do? Because information we have indicates that, yes, the first 40 that the president told the nation about had been brought into the country and have actually left, and another batch we were told was coming in. We do not know whether they actually did come into the country and have left, but there seemed to be some clarity, or we've all sort of moved on beyond the day that this particular issue was quite topical. So why is Democracy Hub now going to court over this?
Yeah, so this is an issue. You know, we live in a country that we hold dearly the rule of law as the core principle for running or administering affairs. And so if our arrangement as a country, right, the government in any international contracts or arrangements would need to be transparent about the deals, right, the details of these transactions, and most importantly, bring it to Parliament approval, right? And all these processes were not followed. So there seems to be some sort of secrecy in the dealings, and more so, it doesn't uphold the fundamental human rights that the Constitution of the Republic seems to guarantee for all people, you know, that we interact with, not just Ghanaians, but Ghana is a member of a committee of nations, and so we need to protect such rights of people that we relate with. And so for Ghana to have this agreement, you know, in secret with the United States government, this is improper. And so we are seeking the Supreme Court to declare it an illegality, and that will need to be discontinued.
Right. So, if I am understanding what Democracy Hub seeks to do, or what you are telling us, it is that although the thing has happened and is in the past, you are seeking the Supreme Court to ensure that no government flouts future agreements if they intend to go into any kind of agreement with another country. Is that the case?
Of course. If we allow this to fly, then it becomes precedent for future things of that nature. But
right.
it is on such grounds that we are seeking this direction from the Supreme Court.
So are you also looking for probable sanctions? I don't know what form that will take, but because it was obvious and clear in the Constitution that government needed to go to Parliament and did not do that, maybe some retrospective sanctions be taken against the government. Is that the case as well?
Yeah, these are all included in the 28th release that we are seeking from the Supreme Court. That as much as possible, the court would need to apply some sanctions to the government, which should serve as a deterrent for such future actions of that nature.
Okay. What if government's strongest argument is that as of the time they were going into this agreement, Parliament was on recess, so they really didn't have the time and space to probably recall Parliament to agree on this? Maybe that was why they took the unilateral agreement.
They could have waited. The people were not dying, right? They could have waited for Parliament to reconvene, or more so, ask Parliament to reconvene under emergency conditions if that was necessary. But this was not an emergency.
I get your point.
And so we don't understand why government should take such moves when you know it is clearly illegal.
Okay. Right. Well, we will see. Since that the court has said that the hearing will be on the 22nd of October, we'll just have to leave it here for now and see what the coming days hold. Thank you for making time to speak with us this evening.
I appreciate the time, my brother.
Right. We've been speaking to Policy and Research Coordinator with Democracy Hub, Christabel, who is asking that the Supreme Court actually look into the decision of government to take in some deportees from the U.S. without due process or without going through Parliament. What do you make of it as well as a Ghanaian? You've also been following and listening through. Do tell us or share your opinion with us on our Facebook and YouTube stream, where this bulletin is also live. Let's turn our attention to health now. The minority in Parliament has kicked against assertions by the Minister in charge of health that the past government is responsible for the high numbers of unpaid nurses and midwives in the country. Ranking member on the Health Committee, Dr. Ayew, says a financial clearance was granted for over 15,000 health workers, criticizing government for what he describes as a leadership failure. My colleague Christian Yali was in Parliament for that press conference and has come through with this report.
Nurses and midwives embarked on street protest for unpaid salaries. Their frustrations and agitations were laid bare, prompting widespread concerns. The health minister in a media engagement said government inherited a difficult situation but is working to right the wrongs of the past administration.
We inherited a situation where about 13,500 nurses and midwives had been recruited and posted without financial clearance. When a financial clearance is issued, you must necessarily migrate the health professionals onto the payroll before the expiration of the clearance. And so we had two options as government: whether to let all the 13,500 nurses and midwives go home. And the second option was to allow them to continue to work whilst we look at how we can get money to pay them.
But the minority would not have any of that, calling the minister's comment non-factual.
All those who the ministry recruited with regards to this clearance had their 5 months' salaries from July, August, September, October. Now the difference is that the ministry was able to do its validations and they did it spot on. This clearance expired on the 31st by item 7. Now in normal public administration and civil service of this country, financial clearances expire. Even under this government, they will have financial clearances expire and they will go for extension. They did not extend this for political reasons. And then 10 months down, they faced an embarrassment where the students or the staff went on a public agitation, demonstration, to draw your mind to this clearance and the need for extension. Embarrassing enough, you are saying that you've taken it to cabinet for an approval. What sort of cabinet do you have to take for an approval when you have a clearance already?
The minority is saying that, see, they have been very reasonable over the period and seen to it that they would extend a goodwill, not to even the government of the day, but to the ordinary Ghanaian citizens who need healthcare facilities or services for their daily living. But they just realized that government is, in a way, making the whole situation political, for which reason they have seen the need to respond to this.
You're throwing dust in the eyes of the people. So government created a mess. And they've seen 10 months is caught up on them and they are fixing it. And that's when you take political decisions. You see, the minority, we are a reasonable minority. We cannot continue to be reasonable when you take the youth of this country for granted. The youth of this country matter, Ghanaians matter, nurses matter, and midwives also matter. Government should come and tell us that there was no clearance. There was, it expired. And they should tell us if indeed in public administration there has not been clearance which had expired and has been extended. It's not news. They should pay them now because the money was allocated. They should pay them now.
With the politics playing out and each side seeking to make their case, the stranded and frustrated health workers have only a wish that their salaries are paid and conditions made better.
And that report was put together by Christian Yali, who is a correspondent from the courts, from Parliament. Away from that, President John Mahama says an interministerial committee is to be set to inaugurate and conduct a feasibility studies ahead of the establishment of a green digital city in Ghana. He estimates that the project will be completed in phases within the next 20 years.
Transformation, we plan to establish a new green city that will straddle the 3 regions of Greater Accra, Volta, and Eastern regions. I'll soon inaugurate an interministerial committee to guide the design and feasibility study.
We apologize for that break in transmission. So the president was speaking earlier in China today when after he had met with the Chinese President Xi Jinping and the Chinese Premier Li Qiang. All right, so the president also has revealed that Ghana and China are set to conclude a zero tariff agreement by end of this month. China has said that the expansion of its zero tariff policy to cover all 53 African countries, including Ghana, is set to maintain diplomatic ties to boost Africa's economy and offer the continent a benchmark to seek equal or better terms from other trading partners. Speaking at a presidential investment forum in Beijing, China, President John Mahama announced that both nations have reached an agreement towards achieving that course.
2020 and 2024, China's exports to Ghana rose by nearly 46%, while Ghana's exports to China increased by over 11%. China's decision to grant zero tariff access to Ghanaian and African products signals the confidence in our partnership. It opens vast new markets for Ghanaian exporters, agro-processors, and manufacturers. And I'm happy to inform you that we reached agreement in principle and we have targeted the end of October to be able to sign off on the zero tariff principle. To commend the government of China for this act of solidarity. We are all aware that the multilateral rules-based trading system is being upended by unilateral slapping of tariffs on different countries. This is the time for us to solidarize and to come together. And this initiative by China is very timely.
President John Dramani Mahama speaking in China earlier today. The District Road Improvement Program, known as DRIP, is facing serious setbacks due to the lack of dedicated funding for fuel to power road maintenance equipment. As a result, many inner community roads remain in poor condition, particularly in the Kowu-Afram Plains North and South districts, where local authorities say that they are struggling to meet growing maintenance needs. Stanley Niblewu reports. We'll try and bring you that report in our subsequent bulletins. But now we are inching away from, just a few seconds away from the latest in the world of business. But before we do that, there's some relief for residents in parts of the central region as operations at the Kwenyakun headworks have finally resumed months after being shut down due to severe pollution from illegal mining activities that contaminated the water sources and disrupted supply to several districts. The development forced thousands of residents to find alternative sources of water, albeit at a cost. During a visit to the facility, Central Regional Minister Eko Penying Dumwa said that the interventions such as these surface pumping have significantly improved the quality of water that has been produced. This is still 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. We have the latest in the world of business, and Bismarck Usa will bring that to us.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up tonight, Bank of Ghana tightens sanctions on DART checks, offenders to face hefty fines, credit restrictions, and 3-year check ban. I am Bismarck Hausa. This headline and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. The Bank of Ghana has introduced a stricter sanctioning regime to curb the rising incidence of DART checks in the banking system. Under the new directive, individuals and businesses who issue bounced checks will face heavy financial penalties, be reported to credit bureaus, and risk being banned from issuing checks for up to 3 years. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report. Sanctioning regime on the issuance of DART checks, warning that persistent offenders will face severe consequences. In a statement issued on Wednesday, October 14, the central bank said the decision follows a worrying rise in the number of bounced checks, which it described as undermining public confidence in check transactions. Under the new framework, customers who issue a DART check for the first time will be fined 10% of the check's face value and placed under surveillance for at least 1 year. A second offense within the same year attracts a 15% penalty, while a third offense comes with a 20% levy and an automatic 3-year ban from issuing checks. Offenders will also be reported to credit reference bureaus and denied access to new loans for a year. The Bank of Ghana further warned that banks must recall all unused checkbooks from banned customers and report those who fail to return them. The central bank says it may publish a directory of high-risk check issuers to guide financial institutions and safeguard the integrity of Ghana's payment system. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Bank of Ghana tightening sanctions on DART checks issuers, indicating offenders to face hefty levies, credit restrictions, and 3-year check ban. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has now set October 28, 2025 to commence the celebration of the 60th anniversary of the Ghana cedi. The celebration, which was initially planned for August, was suspended after the helicopter crash in the Ashanti region, which claimed 8 lives. The central bank said as part of the activities to mark the 60th anniversary of the CD, there will be a national launch ceremony at the Accra International Conference Center with President John Mahama as a special guest of honor. There will also be a CD van regional roadshow, exhibitions, education, and outreach, as well as public education campaigns on clean note handling, currency security features, and history of the currencies since independence. Before we go, Minister of Finance Dr. Kassia Latufosson is leading a high-level government delegation to Washington, D.C. for the 2025 annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group. The meetings, which run from October 13 to 18, bring together global finance leaders to discuss economic priorities and strategies for sustainable growth. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk reports. Dr. Latufosson is accompanied by the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, and senior officials from both institutions. The delegation is expected to engage in a series of high-level discussions with IMF and World Bank management, global investors and development partners, as well as participate in the Sovereign Debt Roundtable. The meetings come at a crucial time for Ghana's economy, following the country's recent staff-level agreement with the IMF under the 5th review of the extended credit facility. Once approved by the IMF board, the deal is expected to unlock an additional $385 million to support Ghana's reform program. In a related development, international ratings agency Moody's has upgraded Ghana's sovereign credit outlook, citing improved fiscal discipline and strong reform momentum. The IMF and World Bank have also commended Dr. Fosson's economic management team for restoring confidence and laying the groundwork for sustainable growth. The finance minister is expected to use the Washington meetings to deepen partnerships, attract new investments, and push for a fairer global financial system that supports developing economies. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. We will keep an eye on the IMF Washington, D.C. meetings and bring you updates in our subsequent bulletins. But that will be all for the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Real Kwampofo is here for sports. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition with me, Oreku Ampofo. We start off from the Ghana Football Association, who have officially launched the maiden edition of the MTN Elite Under-19 Championship, which will take place at the Ghanaman Soccer Center at Pram Pram. The championship is targeted at unearthing talent in the country. Nana Anderson did visit the ground and put together this report on the Under-19 project and what to expect from it. And we'll also hear from Edem Agbana, who believes the initiative will make a lasting impact.
It's a great opportunity for players from the Division 2 League across the country to show their talent. Currently, it is very difficult to provide a platform for players in the Division 2 League to connect with scouts from across the world, to connect with the national teams and connect with clubs even in the higher divisions.
So that was Edem Agbana there talking at the Under-19 Elite Championship taking place at Pram Pram. Now, he is the chairman of the championship. Let's do some more here on the sports segment on Hot Edition as we still stay on the championship because it forms part of the Ghana Football Association's broader part of the youth policy and aligns with key national and international football development programs, including the FIFA Talent Development Scheme, the Elite Academies Project, and the Catch Them Young Refereeing Program. Keto Kreku, who is the president of the Ghana Football Association, also spoke to 3 Sports.
And create platforms that will allow the youth of our country, boys and girls, to realize their dreams. The whole idea, obviously, is to create the needed platform, opportunity for our youth, not only to be identified, but to be offered a chance to develop their talents.
So that was president of the Ghana Football Association. Now, before we go, let's just bring you updates from the World Cup qualifiers, where there's been intense drama across the continent for the final set of qualifiers, especially in Group C, where South Africa, they beat Rwanda by 3-0, and they automatically qualify for the 2026 World Cup. However, the real drama was with Nigeria, who knew that they needed at least a 4-goal margin win to ensure that they assured themselves of at least a playoff finish, and they did exactly just that by beating Benin by 4-0 in Iyo and Nigeria. And so that result is enough to send the Super Eagles to the final playoffs for the FIFA World Cup. Now, with how the African playoffs do work, is that you would have to go through a semi-final and then a final, and once you win the African playoff, you do cross over the border to play a continental playoff, which if you win that one, then you have a place at the next World Cup. And so you can get more updates and reactions on this on our social media handles at 3 Sports GH. My name is Ray Kwampo for bringing an end to the sports segment and also bringing an end to Hot Edition here on TFM 92.7. We'll be back again same time tomorrow to bring you the latest news across the country, the continent, and the globe.